My name is Iona Morrison, and I'm reading a passage from my book, Key to the Past. A loud crash awakened her. Glancing at the numbers on the clock, she vaulted upright, and her heart raced, pounding in her chest. Her hand fumbled in the darkness, knocking her phone to the floor with a thud as she reached for the lamp on the bedside table. Dark soon gave way to blinding light rushing into the room. Closing her eyes, she blinked several times, trying to acclimate herself to the lamp's brightness. Only 1:30. The blind spots slowly faded and the room came into focus. At first glance, all seemed to be in order. Calico chairs and the chintz fabric love seat were upright and in the same place she had last seen them. The heavy antique furniture hadn't moved either. Paintings were still hung securely in place on the wall. What was that awful noise? Searching the room for the culprit that had caused the loud commotion, her sight landed on the large gilded mirror, which had been on the wall, but now lay shattered on the floor in many pieces. Well, that's not a good sign, she muttered, lifting the phone from its cradle. She called the front desk. How can I help you, Miss Reynolds? The woman asked as she answered. The huge mirror in my room fell off the wall, she explained to the woman. I have no idea how, but there is glass everywhere. Oh my, dear me, another one. That makes 3, but it's been a while since the last one came down. She cleared her throat. No amount of throat clearing could cover the nervous edge to the woman's voice. Excuse me, are you saying this has happened before? Jessie's interest was piqued. It didn't bode well for a relaxing time, and it seemed to be fading fast. Sort of, the woman answered softly. I can only imagine what is going on. We can't seem to agree why it keeps happening. Sit tight, and I'll send Carl up to your room to clean up the mess. Don't cut your feet. Heaven knows we don't need you to be injured after being scared out of your wits. Jessie got out of bed, avoiding the area of broken glass. She grabbed her robe and slid her feet into a pair of soft, cushy slippers. As she sat on one of the calico chairs, her mind began to dredge up more than one good reason a mirror could suddenly come crashing to the floor in the room she was renting. A ghost, perhaps? Her foot moved nervously beneath the chair. A knock at the door sent her to check through the peephole before she opened it. The man standing in the hallway was a total surprise. He wasn't what she had envisioned as the inn's caretaker. Well over 6 feet tall, with rippling muscles in his upper arms that were hard not to notice, he instantly filled the room once she opened the door. Rapidly, the large space felt quite small and warm. His cart seemed almost miniature as he pushed it through the doorway with one hand while balancing a broom casually over his shoulder. With his reddish blonde hair curling out from under his cap and intense emerald green eyes which directly looked into hers, he must have set many young hearts aflutter. His roguish grin most likely sealed the deal. Sorry to bother you, ma'am. I'm Carl. His eyes traveled slowly over her in an insolent manner. This big old thing crashing to the floor must have startled you. You could say that. She moved back to put some distance between them. The lady at the desk told me this was the 3rd one. Why are they falling off the wall? Aren't they properly secured? Now that's a good question, and one for which I have no immediate answer. If you have your shoes on, come over here and I'll show you what I mean. Hesitant to get too close to the man, she walked to where he stood and looked at where his finger pointed. Oh my, the hangers are still in the wall. She hadn't expected to see them intact. Surprising and totally mystifying was the face looking back at her from the broken mirror. Could Carl see the girl in the shattered pieces? Yes, they're anchored to the studs, solid and not going anywhere. Look at this. He showed her on the frame that the wire support was still attached firmly in place and not broken. It's like someone is lifting the mirrors, frame and all, right off the wall and throwing them to the ground, which isn't possible considering the weight of these things. He scratched his head. He handed her a chunk of the frame to hold. You can imagine the weight of the frame in one piece, with the beveled glass in it. The darn thing weighs at least 55 or more pounds. I see what you mean. It wouldn't be easy to toss one, and if it fell, the weight alone would break the wire and rip not only the hangers, but damage the wall as well. The girl was still watching her. Right, as you can see, there's no damage. Evelyn, the lady who works the desk most nights, swears we have a ghost. This is an old inn and has seen its share of bad stuff over the years. The original owners built it in the early 1800s. There's a lot of history here, some good, some bad. But I'm not ready to agree with her about a ghost, though. Besides not believing in such wild tales, I've never seen any signs of a ghost, he chuckled. You have an accent. Where are you from? Jessie said on the foot of the bed while he swept up a few chunks and slivers of glass from the area where she had been standing. I was born in Ireland. His head down, he concentrated on sweeping the floor. Don't want to miss anything if I can help it. You mean to tell me you don't think a ghost is possible? Your Irish mythology, with its banshees, leprechauns, and fairies, are magic's fertile ground for supernatural possibilities, she smiled as he frowned. Some things you never get away from. He lifted his cap and placed it back on his head. She could sense the war inside of him. The subject was uncomfortable for him, and she changed it. How long have you been working here? I'm the owner. He told her with pride in his voice. I bought the place recently, and that's why I'm doing the cleanup. There's some remodeling in the works, and I want to turn a profit before I hire anyone else. I get it, she nodded as she tugged the belt on her robe tighter. I'm a new business owner myself. She watched him sweep more of the glass into a pile. If not a ghost, then what's your theory? There's a logical reason for it. Maybe it's as simple as the foundation shifting. He scooped up a part of the gilded frame. This antique frame will be hard to replace, though. They don't make them like that anymore. Jessie listened indifferently to his musings. Boy, could she tell him a thing or two. I'm sure you're right. There's a good reason for it. I guess you'll know soon enough. Every mystery is solvable eventually, she told him half-heartedly. She moved to sit on the edge of the chair to get out of his way and let him finish his cleaning. Would time give an answer? It sounded good, but it took 10 years for authorities to solve Matt's high school sweetheart, Elizabeth Mackenzie's murder. Slow down, she shook her head. We're not talking murder here, only a broken mirror. But the girl's haunted eyes said murder to her.